Hospitals in Bangladesh on Friday were overflowing with patients suffering from dengue, amid a record number of deaths from the virus for the second year in a row. Shariful Islam is watching over his family members who are on the floor of this Dhaka hospital.
Since we came here, the doctors and nurses told us that they cannot provide us with a proper bed, but if we stay, they would treat us. We had no other choice but to arrange things on the floor for my mother and sister.
The mosquito-borne virus has led to nearly 300 deaths, a record for the country, and more than 37,000 infections, according to official figures as of Thursday. Health officials said patients are suffering from high fever, joint pain, and vomiting. There is no vaccine or drug that specifically treats dengue, which is common in South Asia during the June to September monsoon season, as the Aedes aegypti mosquito, which spreads the virus, thrives in stagnant water. Early detection and access to proper medical care, however, can reduce deaths to fewer than 1% of patients. Jahangir Nagar University professor of entomology Kabirul Bashar expects the case numbers to keep rising.
When the pre-monsoon rains started in April, so did the Aedes mosquito breeding. The virus had already spread within the community, therefore it was also being transmitted. This is the reason why we are seeing such a high number of dengue cases in July. This will probably increase further in August and September.
The government has launched an awareness campaign to limit the spread of the disease and efforts to kill mosquito larvae following a spell of rains, according to the health minister.
Email exchanges from inside the BBC, they talk about the risk of violating Indian laws. It's easier to rake up the freedom of speech debate, but does it give anyone a free pass to knowingly violate the law? America supports India because it needs India's support in return. And India is working with the US because it suits India's interests. This is how geopolitics works. Last night, he diffused a crisis with his defense minister. But today, Netanyahu was confronted with a new problem. His cabinet seems to have rebelled against him. The UK is looking at the Indian subcontinent to fill its coffers. That India seems to be negotiating from a position of power, like a partner and not a former colony.
And there they go.
The US and Russia are dangerously close to an armed conflict. This year, 2023, New Delhi will be the capital of global diplomacy. For a country as diverse as ours, with 88% of the population illiterate, it was a very big deal to write a constitution, and that too, the world's largest. Meanwhile, if we may, here's a Republic Day gift from India for the BBC. A list of suggestions for the BBC for their upcoming documentaries. Number 1. The Kohinoor and the colonial loot. Number 2, an outdated monarchy and unhealthy obsession with the royals. Number 3, racism in 2023. We're waiting.